Hi, guys.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Turn up
Good
my volume here real quick.
afternoon.
Hi.
Hi. Bimo, no. Coming to you live from Mammoth. Cute, right?
I love the background. I love like the cabin look behind you.
It's really
Very
cute.
nice.
Cute.
We have a loft, antler.
Oh my God, I love that chandelier.
I'm gonna warn you now, the Wi-Fi connection here is not very strong. Okay, so just be forewarned. I'm gonna wait a couple of minutes and we're gonna do residential listing agreement today. So if you have the ability to pull it up or print it out, I always recommend printing out so you can actually write notes as we go over it on the screen together, but that's entirely up to you. And remember, keep in mind that I don't see text or chat when I'm screen sharing. So I highly encourage any and all that have questions or thoughts to go ahead, unmute, interject. Oh, I'm so sore, I'm gonna die.
Wait, have you done snowboarding or?
I did the last 2 days, but it was my first time, and 38.
Oh my God, your thighs are probably burning, or your butt.
My butt and my knees hurt the most, but everything is particularly like I can't lift my arm up. Oh
my God.
Wow.
Yeah. So Erin Hansen is here with me. Hello. Hello. And we've been having a contest of who can say ouch the most and longest, most egregious way possible. What's that? I don't know. Well, yeah, we don't know who's winning. We're like tied. We're totally tied. Bimo, come here. Oh, we're waiting for people. Come here, Bimo. You want to say hi to everyone? Come here. Come on. Where's my monkey boo? Yeah. Say hi.
Hi.
Oh, how cute.
So cute.
Oh.
Love the snow so much.
So there's a lot of snow?
No.
And
but there's snow like on the edges of things.
Yeah.
So it's mostly, it's ice. It's refrozen at this point. Okay. One more minute. Hi, Sharon.
Hi, love.
Hi.
So where
Hi,
are you? Sorry, I just joined. Where are you?
Mammoth.
Oh, nice. Love your pictures. Great.
Thank you. You know, if you ever want a great photo shoot, go to the snow where all that light is reflecting. Everything looks flawless. I was like, my skin hasn't looked this flawless or like smooth or young since I was 10. It's all an illusion, by the way, but great photo ops.
That's great to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. Thank you. Have fun.
Yes, fun but ouchy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started then. I'm gonna do my screen share. Uh-oh, Alfredo, are you still here? The host has disabled screen share. Is anyone in the office that can tell Alfredo?
It didn't look like he was at the office, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, I think he's home.
Hold. Give me a second. You want to know?
Oh.
Oh, ow. Okay. Hey, I can't screen share. It's disabled. Will you help, please? Okay. There you are. Tanya? What about Tanya? Tanya, for some reason, you got marked as the host. What does she have to do? Can you just hop on the call and tell her that? Okay. Hopefully she's there. I'm gonna hang up the phone since you're popping on. Okay, bye. Tanya, are you there? If you are, can you come off mute? Alfredo accidentally made you the host and we need to transfer it to me. He's gonna tell you how.
I'm gonna give her a call.
Okay, if not, can we just kick her off? I mean, I feel bad about it, but.
I don't think I can.
Guys, if we're not able to get Tanya unhosted and me in, you can go to my YouTube channel and watch the listing contract video, RLA. And then the listing agreement contract class is actually very short. So I'll just add it on to next week's if we can't resolve this, okay?
Chrsten, Keller Williams, how you doing? Good.
No problem.
Right? All right. Can you do me a favor and go on your participants where it says your name, everybody's names, where it says like participants, and then where you find Chrsten, she's in green, like a green bubble. When it says where it says more, drop down and then make for the host.
Number one, you have to have good credit.
There we go.
Okay,
Chrsten.
I'm the host now. Great, we're fixed. Hey guys, thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, screen sharing.
You good, Chrsten?
Yes.
All right, cool. Bye. Call
Bye.
me back if anything.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
All right, can everybody see this? Yeah?
Yeah,
Nope.
we can see it.
Yes.
Yes.
Good. All right. So if you've taken any contract classes before, you'll know this, but every single time we have any type of contract, be it for a lease, representing a buyer, a listing, doesn't matter how many times you've written an offer or done business with this client, every single time with any kind of contract, this document's going to auto-populate the disclosure regarding a state agency or real estate agency relationship, also referred to as AD. Okay, so if you're in a transaction, not only will you have an AD, but the cooperating agent in any transaction is going to have one as well. All right, and so it basically says what the seller's agent and the buyer's agent's duties are, and it protects your agency relationship with the client. It talks about dual representation. And remember, dual representation is not you as the individual agent representing both parties, although that is dual agency. It's anyone from the same brokerage providing dual representation. So if Kevin and if I'm representing the seller and Kevin brings me a buyer, we are providing dual representation. All right. Seller and buyer responsibilities. While I'm not going to go through this thoroughly, every single document. Yes? No. Okay. So, yes, question, no question. No. Okay. So every single document that we go over, you should read this fully. The more you read, the more, let me tell you, agents, people don't read. If you read this, you're going to understand it so well. The better you understand it, the better you can explain it. The more you understand it, the better you can run circles around the other agent before they even know that you did it. All right. If you have a contractual signature, you don't have to fight. You already won. Okay. You don't have to negotiate. It's already done. So read everything, guys. All right. Next document is our new fair housing and discrimination advisory. All right. So basically, it's just that housing in California has to be available to all persons. Discrimination is not allowed. And it talks about the classes. Again, read through this, but I think this is pretty common sense stuff, especially in an area like Los Angeles where we're very conscientious of this stuff. But I will tell you that it does happen to me where I do have clients who give me instructions that violate this. And I'll tell you the most common and how I handle it. It's usually with the lease, and it usually has to do with familial status. The landlord will say to me, Chrsten, I don't want a tenant with children, they'll wreck the house. And my response to them will be, if I don't submit applications to you because a family has children, I am violating federal fair housing law and I can lose my license. It's illegal. Don't tell me stuff like that. What I will tell you is I will submit an application to you that has all of the information about any applicant. You don't have to tell me why you've chosen to work with or not work with or accept or not accept an applicant. I'll just send them all to you and you tell me which ones you'd like to move forward with, if any. All right, make sense? Okay.
Yes.
Another hot topic right now is love letters to the seller. So oftentimes in love letters to the seller, and that's when you're representing a buyer, you want to add a cutesy touch to your offer, flattering the seller, flattering the home, making sure they know it'd be loved and cared for. A lot of sellers do respond emotionally to these letters. So CAR has not made it illegal. However, they have said, be careful, right? Photos show familial status, they show race, they show gender, they show those types of things. I don't know about you, I'm still doing them. I still advise my clients to do them. I've always edited them to make sure that there's nothing in here that's funny. I'll give you an example. I had a client who wrote that not only do they love the house, they love its close proximity. They can walk to Temple, just a couple blocks away. I advise them, hey, we can leave this in, right? It's up to you. But I just want you to know that I like keeping anything that could, a seller could have a disagreement or a different opinion on out of these letters. It's really up to you. But I would advise taking things like that out. Or kind of unrelated, but I had a buyer once who was like, oh, I can't wait to come and restore, your home. I love architectural integrity. I can't stand developers who destroy this beauty. And I was like, you have no idea if this person's a developer, if their family's in development, if they are getting rid of the house because they wanted to develop it, think it should be, and don't have the patience or the money. Like, take these things out. Inflammatory things that might hurt chances of acceptance. Okay. So again, read through it, but we're not going to go through it page by page or word by word. All right, we've already talked about dual representation. This document, again, is going to auto-populate every time you have a contract, possible representation of more than one buyer or seller. Why is this? If I have a listing, I don't know who's going to write an offer on it, right? I don't know. This also populates with a buyer agreement because you don't know, there could be a co-agent you don't know about that's from your brokerage. In any case, it's a required document. Get it every time. All it can do is protect. All right. Wire fraud and electronic funds transfer advisory. I don't find that this document is super relevant to sellers. However, if you ever had a seller who, not short sale, they were doing traditional sale, but they actually owed more than they were going to receive from the purchase, they might come in with money. That would be the only time I could possibly think of a seller actually wiring money to escrow in a transaction. So I do explain to my sellers that this is mostly for buyers, but in the off chance that they had to wire money to escrow for some reason, which is extremely rare, there are people posing as escrow. They're somehow finding out about a sale, somehow obtaining principal. Principal means buyer or seller. Contact info via email and sending fraudulent wire instructions. Once money is wired and sent to some random place, it is almost impossible, if not always impossible, to recover. And that's going to kill your deal and cause a lot of problems, right? So, Phyllis, what do we do if we have to wire money representing the buyer or seller? If our client has to wire money, how are we receiving those wire instructions and what are we doing to verify them?
Call the escrow company.
Yeah, and how is escrow sending these wire instructions to you? Phyllis?
Email.
What kind of email? Anybody? Encrypted. It should be
It should
Oh.
be encrypted, yeah.
Yeah. And not all escrow companies are doing the encryption. Why? Because it's a pain in the ass and agents and buyers and sellers complain. And that's okay, I guess, if they don't send it encrypted, but you better pick up the phone. Make sure you do like an independent Google search too, especially if you're the buyer's agent and not familiar with the escrow company. Get that contact info off of the web.
And what you
Okay.
said before was like when this email is going, call them to make sure that they got it at the same time. You know, just confirm and over the phone that they received that email.
And it's a great way to introduce your client to escrow, right? Escrow is much more likely to be responsive and treat you and your client well once they hear your voice, once you have personal interaction.
I'm sorry.
Remember, escrow is probably the most influential, beyond your own negotiations between buyer and seller, influential party in the transaction. They do so much work. You'll never understand what it is. They get paid the least. Everyone gives them everything at the last second. They are your miracle worker. They literally, for a living, pull miracles. Okay? They do it at night. This is why I no longer do that work. I would be a total cat lady and probably really, really overweight and miserable and drunk every single day because it's a terrible job and everyone blames you for everything. So be nice to your escrow officer. They can move your heaven and earth, okay? When they do things special for you, or if you'll find escrow agents that are just jerks to you sometimes. Really, they either don't care about the business or they only care about the listing agent because that's who their client is. Help yourself out a little bit. Send them a little gift. One of the worst escrow experiences I've ever had, I sent them Sherry's berries and then they sent me a thank you back and they were always super sweet after that, right? Don't respond to grouchiness with grouchiness. These people have power, and not only power, but they can make the miracle you need to have happen. So the more inclined they are to help you, the better for you. Okay. And their job just sucks and they work hard. Just be nice. I'd be, like I said, I'd be grouchy if I was still doing that. I'm grouchy. All right. Now, finally, our residential listing agreement. All right. Remember, we always check for a revision date. Okay. So this was revised this year in June. Up at the top left is date prepared. This is not the day it's signed. Okay. This is not the date the listing starts. This is the date you literally prepared the document, and it's a legal reference date. If you modify any of the terms of your listing during the course of your listing, you will refer to this date. All right, exclusive right to sell. All right, these are your sellers' names. Where should we get the sellers' names, guys?
Public record
No, public record if you have to.
or title.
Title.
Title?
Ask a title rep. Yes, public record is notoriously inaccurate. And if there was a recent deed change, like someone passed, you know, a trustee's changed, public records might be behind. Also, there's a limited number of characters in public records, so you might not have all of the owners on title to sign your listing agreement for it to actually be valid. So title. All right, so second line is hereby employs and grants. And this is the name of the broker, not the agent, guys. Very common mistake. Someone puts their name in, the agent puts their name in here. Not the case. Why? All of our clients are technically the brokerage's clients, not ours. Okay? They're not, don't worry, they're not going to come in and take them from you. But yeah, so broker. And then the beginning date. So the beginning date is literally the date the listing should start. All right, let's talk about this a little bit. I love for my listing to start the day that my clients sign it, because then I can shop it as a pocket listing and it's mine, right? If they put it off in the future, what if they change their mind? What if some other agent comes in and undercuts me on commission? What if their sister-in-law guilts them because her daughter just got licensed, right? I want my listing contract signed. The problem is that within 2 days of the listing agreement start date, I have to have it in the MLS or I have to have it off the MLS. I have a workaround. The workaround is I have it started the day that the client signs it. And then, guys, can anyone tell me the end date, the typical listing time frame period is?
6 months.
6 months.
Yeah, typical is 6 months. Can it be longer? Can it be shorter? Absolutely. Anything over a year is considered sort of unethical. So check with Michael Rosales if you're going to do anything over a year. But I'll tell you, super high-end property oftentimes takes a year plus to sell. Okay. So that might be when it would exceed, but check with Michael Rosales if you're ever going to do a listing period over a year. So we'll talk more about my workaround on taking the listing active as of the date that the buyer or the seller signs, and what we need to do to make that accurate so that we can circumvent and skirt the system, basically. All right, so moving on. Exclusive and irrevocable right to seller exchange real property described as blank. This is the address. Guys, where are we getting the address from?
Title.
Yes. Okay. And city. Okay, so I want you to know that there are a lot of areas that people think are cities, particularly Los Angeles. Venice is not a city. It's Los Angeles. Brentwood is not a city. Actually, there is one in Northern California. It's Los Angeles. West Hollywood is its own city, but Hollywood is city of Los Angeles. A little confusing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Set yourself up for success. Find out what the legal city is from title. Now, if you want to be super fancy and you're going to ask for the seller's names and the legal address, you can ask your title rep for what is called legal investing. The legal description will have the property address and it will say something like lot blah, blah, blah in block yada, yada of tract number blah, 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 located in the city of, and there's your legal city. Okay. All right. So the next section here is, sorry, I keep having to move my little face boxes around so that I can actually look at the contract. The next spot here is for county, and then zip code. And then, guys, another huge mistake I see all the time in all contracts is the APN number or assessor's parcel number is missing. This is a very important number because for escrow and title, this is a much stronger way of identification, and the lender, a much stronger way of identification of the property than the addresses. Addresses are changeable. APNs, they are managed by the assessor's office, the county assessor's office, and any changes to them are long, drawn out, legal, and documented quite well. All right, so moving on to these check boxes. The first one is for a manufactured mobile home. Guys, you can only sell a mobile home as an agent if the mobile home owner actually owns the dirt upon which the mobile home sits, okay? A mobile home is that's sitting on a lease property is more like a car sale than it is a real estate sale. So anyone asks you, can you list my mobile home? Your first question is what?
Do you own the land?
That's right. Okay. This property is being sold as part of a probate, conservatorship, or guardianship. See addendum for additional terms. Okay. If you know, you will know this because the seller that is contacting you will explain these things to you, and you'll probably have legal documentation. You check this box, and an addendum will automatically auto-populate into car form, zip forms. I'm not going to go into that because that's a little advanced. If you want to read up more on probate stuff, I have a probate class on my YouTube channel, but I kind of butcher my way through it. I can do it, you know, but it'd be like giving someone directions to my house from the office. Actually, that's easy for me. Giving directions to my father's house to someone from the office, right? Without GPS and all of that. I can do it, but I don't know if I could tell someone perfectly. So there's a great guy named Paul Horn, Paulhorn, best probate teacher I've ever seen. I had sent Aaron to one of his classes, and I guess it was actually a like how to do probate marketing class. So make sure it's the actual probate. Don't take any of those other classes. If you don't understand the basic process, the rest is sort of lost on you. It's not a great way to start halfway through. Okay. Listing price and terms. The listing price shall be blank dollars. Guys, who decides that?
Buyer.
No.
No, the seller.
Seller
You
client.
I do
always
this-
do that, Phyllis.
I do this every time. I know. I'm like auto. I'm going to mute myself because I keep saying the wrong.
No, don't. I like it when you guys talk to me, and it's cute and it's fun, and there's nothing to be embarrassed about here. I make mistakes all the time. I say the wrong thing when I mean completely the opposite. Okay, so additional listing terms. Sorry, I keep on having to move these boxes around. Okay, B, listing terms. If there's anything weird here, you might want to bounce it off your mentor, me, Michael Rosales. I'll tell you what the most common one is. The most common one I have under these additional listing terms is that maybe if I list a property and I also represent the buyer, I will reduce the seller's commission from 5% to 4.5 or 4. That's most often what I've used this for. I don't do that often. I don't like dual representation, just an FYI. It is hard. I know it's more money, but it's just as easy for me to give it to an agent that I like and respect and take half of their money. Okay, without having the kinds of problems I have when I have to represent both sides. Okay, let's see. Compensation to broker. All right, so the seller pays both buyer and seller agent commission. All right, so this box here would be checked. If you're going to do a flat dollar commission, you need to go ahead and go get approval from Michael Rosales before you do anything like that. It's very unusual. We don't typically do that. Okay, so you're going to check this box. And guys, can anyone tell me what the standard total commission paid by the seller is in a sale?
5%.
5 right now.
5, yeah. Can you get 6? Yes, but you might lose your listing opportunity if you go in there too greedy. Can you do it for less? Yes, but you need to get office approval, and it sucks. And not being able to offer a full 2.5% to the buyer's agent might keep some buyers agents from showing it, even though it's unethical and you should never do that. You can have that conversation with your seller that yes, indeed, that does happen. So they probably don't want to do that. But hey, who am I? What do I know? I'm just a real estate professional. All right. So you check this box and you put 5.00% in here. All right. If there is anything else additional, right? Let's say under section C, in addition, seller agrees to pay broker. This is also very uncommon, but maybe they might say, if you can get my my listing under contract at full price within the first 30 days, I will give you a $10,000 bonus. You can put something like that in here, okay? You could also do that under the additional terms, though. There's a lot of different places you can do it. But as I say always, anytime you use free form sections that you're writing stuff, make sure someone super experienced is taking a look at that, because you might not be covering all of the loopholes or areas you need to make something stick. All right. So the next line under D is the amount that goes to the buyer's agent, guys, and how much percentage of the total commission should be offered to the buyer's agent.
In half, 2.5%.
Yeah, 50% of whatever you have. Yes, so typically 2.5%. Can you take more and give them less? Yes, it's not considered very ethical. But there might be times or reasons that it would be a little more reasonable or ethical. That might be like because I did a lot of free work for the seller before. Maybe I waived commission on putting them in a lease. Maybe I oversaw the complete remodel of their home for 8 months and provided access every day to their contractors because they live out of the country. Stuff like that. Okay. Now, if you ever take more commission than you're offering, there is a disclosure in the MLS. So when you have your first listing, if you haven't already, there's a section in the MLS called SLIM, SLIMM, and this is where we enter all of our listings. One of the questions there is going to be disclosures. It's a drop-down box. So if you take more commission than the other agent, in that drop-down box, you have to select something called listing broker advantage. Nobody knows what that means. Nobody looks at it. Don't worry about it. But if it's someone like me that sees it, I'll know, oh, they're taking a little bit more money. Do I care?
They can also see it in the escrow too. Sorry. They can sometimes see it on the escrow breakdown.
Yeah, typically though, when commissions are different between the buyer's agent and selling agent or seller's agent, escrow will actually send separate commission instructions. So anytime I see separate commission instructions, I'm always like, I wonder if they're making more or less than me. But again, do I care? No, that's not my job. My job is to do the best job for my client and close the deal for them at the commission that was advertised to me. None of my business. All right. Again, you could offer a flat rate to the buyer's agent, very uncommon. Don't recommend doing it, and you'll need to get permission from Michael Rosales if you guys are doing flat rate. All right. So next line, F1, seller represents seller has not previously entered into a listing agreement with another broker regarding the property unless specified as follows. And I'm sorry, I'm going to eat a little bit. What do you think this is referring to? If the property was previously listed, okay? So if it was previously listed, you need to enter that previous brokerage and agent name in here. And then you need to ask the client, can I please have a copy of the cancellation of the listing or the listing agreement that expired? Because you need to verify that, because you're violating the law if you list something that's under an active contract. Okay. And then your second question is, did your previous agent provide you with what's called an exclusions list? Okay. We'll talk about an exclusions list a little bit more in a second. If they say yes, you need a copy of it, and you're going to say see attached exclusions list right here. And you're going to attach that list to here. Okay. So I guess this is an okay time to talk about exclusions list. That exclusions list, just like when you take a listing, you need to keep track of everyone you show the property to. In the case that you don't sell it, and after your listing is canceled or expired, there is a protected period of time, and that time is actually named in the contract, and we'll see that in a second, where if you provide a full list of the people you showed the property to, prior. It has to be written and it has to be prior to cancellation or expiration to the seller. And one of those people comes back and buys it within a certain time frame. Like I said, that's identified in our contract. Doesn't matter if it's listed with someone else. Guess who is now representing the seller and getting paid? You are. The previous agent that has a buyer from the previous contract term because of that exclusions list. No exclusions list, no money for previous agent. Okay, and this happens more often than you would think. Why? Because a lot of times the seller goes ahead and gives that price reduction to the second agent instead of giving you your hard-earned price reduction that you've probably been asking for and fighting for from the beginning. Not fair, so protect yourself. I use Google Calendar for all of my appointments for showings, and I actually have a structure to it, and it says showing 1234 Main Street. And then under the notes, I will have the buyer name. So when you set up showings as a listing agent or a buyer's agent, is it normal to ask for the client name? Yes, and this is one of the reasons why. Okay. Also, when we can go back to having open houses, again, I get everyone to sign in. I mean, there might be one or two people who really resist, but I just let them know, like, legally, I have to keep track of who comes into the property for myself and for the client and for the brokerage. If you don't want to list any contact information, you don't have to. And in all honesty, I will never contact you unless you want me to anyhow. Okay, so, and because of that, almost everyone signs in for me. And knock on wood, I have not had a listing that hasn't sold. Okay. I have had a listing that couldn't sell because of legal problems, so we took it off the market. But I have seen this when I worked for other people, particularly in high end, guys. That's a huge commission to lose because you were too lazy to make one piece of paper or email, whatever. Okay. Actually, did I miss it? I did miss it. Sorry. Your exclusions period is under section 3.2. So just like you have a listing period, this is the time frame for your exclusions period. So if your listing cancels or expires, if within this many days that's agreed to and signed off on in your listing contract, someone on that exclusions list buys, you get your money. Can anyone tell me what the most common time frame that gets entered here is?
Is it 2 months?
180 days.
6 months?
180 days.
180 days.
Yeah.
180.
Yeah. Can you do more or less? Absolutely. But 6 months is standard.
I have to say I did this for my last client and they loved it because every person, like every showing, I got the feedback and put it next to it.
Yep.
So they knew exactly why their house wasn't selling, and they, it wasn't, they didn't blame me as a realtor saying, oh, it's not the house or it's not you, they know exactly why their house wasn't selling and it wasn't me. So it was very easy to talk to them and get like the price reduction or whatever I needed from them. And
Yes.
they want to list again. So it was really good.
Yes, it's super good. Set yourself up for success. If you're not getting any showing requests, price is too high, right? If
Right.
you are showing it a bunch, but not getting offers, price is still probably too high or doesn't show well for both of those. But if you keep track of them and you say to Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I have shown your property to 45 people in the last month, and we've not received a single offer, you're much more likely, like Connie said, to get that price reduction or hear about the things that the buyers didn't like. Why did they decide to pass, right? It's always a good idea to call up their agent and find out, like, do you have any feedback for me? Like Connie said, you may have been telling them to stage or paint or change something this entire time, but when they hear the same thing from buyers over and over again, this is why I passed, you're much more likely to, not only maybe get a price reduction, but maybe get some work that's necessary or some staging or something else. Okay. Scrolling on back down. Okay. Section 4A, items included and excluded. So nothing's included or excluded, even if it's in here, unless it's in your purchase contract. But this is the place where you as a listing agent get to find out what the seller wants to include or exclude. Legal definition of what's included is what is permanently affixed. But when in doubt, just write it. Be clear. It doesn't matter, you know, if the light fixture is by law affixed, the chandelier, my beautiful antler chandelier, I want to take it with me when I sell my house, Phyllis. I want to exclude it. You say, great. You pop it into the listing agreement, but then you don't put it in, you don't counter or tell the buyer's agent and they don't put it in the offer. Guess what? That buyer is legally entitled to my chandelier and I'm mad at you. And now you've either got to go negotiate and buy the buyer's new chandelier, or you probably all have to offer me a lot of money because I'm super mad at you and it's ugly. It's a family heirloom, but it's priceless to me. But it's where you have your conversation. A lot of times sellers are on the fence about appliances. This is where you talk about that. And a lot of them will say, you know, it's not a deal breaker for me. I'll leave them if the buyer really wanted them and the terms were good. Maybe I won't. But again, remember, no matter what's in here, this is mostly for you to know and have this conversation. So a seller's aware of it, that they can't strip the house down with light fixtures and all of that. Okay. Mostly a conversation for educational purposes and needs to be reflected in the purchase contract. All right. Section 4B, leased or not owned items. The most common one of these guys is what?
Solar power.
That's right. I'm actually in a contract right now where it's a leased solar contract panel. And sometimes the terms are pretty gnarly. So if your buyer's making an offer, you probably want to write in, even though it's part of the buyer's investigation contingency, I would write in probably a special contingency in my buyer offer saying, we want to review a copy of this within the first 3 days of opening escrow, or maybe even 2 before we even give them money. You know, if the buyer has to assume it, we need to see that contract so we know we want to buy it. Otherwise, is the seller going to pay it off through escrow? Then no big deal, you know. But that should all be in the RPA. But you as a listing agent need to ask these questions because you need to know. There's a different listing contract for multifamily, but one of the most common things in multifamily is if there's communal washer, like laundry rooms, washers and dryers might be leased. So, you know, just ask these questions. This is so you can have the conversations with your sellers, so you can be aware, so you can market the property properly and circumvent any issues. Okay. Multiple listing service. Okay. We talked about my workaround for taking the listing, but not putting it on the MLS. So we'll talk a little bit more about that now. Give me a second. Let me move this screen over. Okay. So I believe it's 2 business days, not calendar days, that you have to get a listing into the MLS, unless you have a document called an SELM, Seller Instruction to Exclude from the Multiple Listing Service. So down here, first we're going to identify what multiple listing service we're a part of. If you're a part of our office, 99.9% chance you are a member of CLAW, Combined Los Angeles Westside. All uppercase acronym CLAW. Any of you guys old enough to be like Inspector Gadget fans? The CLAW, no? Okay, good. Yay, I'm not too old. Now I wish I had my cat. I would the CLAW and pet my cat. All right, so CLAW goes in here. Now, on an occasion, you might list a property where you are not the primary MLS. That may or may not be a problem. Okay, because let's say I listed a property in Redondo Beach. Our MLS still has access to it, and they do what's called cooperation. They're participant MLSs, but not all cities are. So before you go into a listing appointment, you really want to know if our multiple listing service is a participant and cooperates with the primary MLS for the area that the property is located in. Because if it's not, guys, no one in that area is going to see it. Is it ethical for you to represent that listing if none of the agents in that area are going to see it? No. What do you need to do then? You need to bring someone in to work with you as a co-rep agent who will enter it on the primary MLS for that area. But whether or not it is something that you can view and the public and other agents can view, if it's not the primary MLS, you would check this box. So Redondo Beach, totally fine, but I'm still checking this box. Everyone can see it, but I'm still checking this box. All right.
Like, what, do you know of a few that don't cooperate, like in LA County or?
I don't know about LA County, but there is a
Yeah.
list somewhere.
Okay,
Eva,
cool.
stop it.
I would think that LA County is pretty safe.
Yeah, I think LA, Orange County, I think all of that's pretty safe. I know some isolated places in Northern California. BMO! Stop! Sorry. I do know some places that are more isolated in Northern California that don't. But you can probably contact our MLS help desk. The last time I checked, I was looking for my brother actually in a weird place in Northern California. It was just a couple weeks ago. I was visiting him and I couldn't figure it out. And the page that showed what MLSs participated with the other ones, it was down for some reason. So contact the MLS, check it out. But here's another cheat sheet way to know. Try to find property on the MLS in the area. If you're seeing anything, we probably cooperate with them. If you don't, we probably don't. Okay. All right, so back to my little workaround. So I don't know why buyers and sellers still have this misconception that pocket listings are sexy. Pocket listings are shitty ass listings that are overpriced. If it was a pocket listing agent, yeah. If it was a good pocket listing, the listing agent's gonna sell it to their own buyer, lickety split, and make double the commission, okay? Pocket listings are shitty. There's the seller's weird, it's overpriced, there's something wrong with the property, all of those things. And now we have these rules that, guess what? Pocket listings, something that's not on the MLS, can only be shopped within the same brokerage. We're lucky, we have an umbrella company called Forward Living, and there are 14 of our offices, and we have like a Facebook page called Forward Living Group or whatever. So we can share with 14 offices, but it is never to a seller's advantage. Never to a seller's advantage not to go on the MLS. Why is that? The more people who see the property, the more people view it, the more potential offers, the higher the potential price. Okay. So you need to explain to your buyers and sellers why it is not sexy and these new laws about how we can't talk about a pocket listing to anyone that isn't in our brokerage. We just can't do it. So, you know, your buyer very well may be coming from one of the million other brokerages that are out there. You know, the only time I still see pockets is if it's like really, really high profile celebrity client. And at that point, if you were in my class, I kind of don't follow the rules, and that's all I'm going to say about it. Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. That sounded.
That's right. It doesn't sound like anything. I don't even know what I'm talking about. All right. So no matter what the buyer, the seller is doing, they're going to go ahead and initial this. All right. And so here it is, that SCLM form we were talking about. So I'm going to take my listing active as of today, December 10th. But I need like 2 weeks to get it ready for market, right? I need to order photos. The photographer needs time. What if I need it staged? What if they're doing some work? So I go ahead and I do the SCLM. And when this CAR form SCLM, seller instruction to exclude from the multiple listing service, populates in zip forms, I select the option that says exclude for the entire listing period. Then the day before I know I'm ready to go live on the MLS, I populate a document called modification of existing terms. On the modification of existing terms, I write in there listing period, you know, I'll reference the listing agreement. Remember, I told you that legal reference date. It will say this is a modification of terms to, it will say residential listing agreement, dated. I'll put in that legal reference date at the top left of our residential listing agreement. And under other terms, I will say number 1, listing period to begin. And so let's say it is now December 20th, and I know I'm ready to go on the MLS tomorrow. So I will write in there December 21st. And then item number 2, very important, guys. Item number 2 says car form SELM dated whatever day they signed it, and that's that document we use to keep it off the MLS legally, is deleted in its entirety. And that is our workaround for having an active listing. That is ours, and skirting the 2-day submission rules. And you have to do that right away. And you generally want to explain it to your sellers. Okay. And make sure that they're available to sign it, because what if they can't sign it? Then you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs until they can sign it.
So we get I'm sorry, SELM signed at the same time as the listing agent, the listing agreement?
Yeah. Yes.
Same
Yep.
document.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. Okay.
So you basically sign this, have them sign it as the date. You exclude it, or you put the modification of existing terms form in, reference the LA.
Modification
No,
goes later. I do the listing agreement active as of the day they sign, along with SELM. And then
gotcha.
the day before I want to list, I will draft the modification of terms, modifying first the listing period start date, because I want to show 0 days on market. If I know I'm going on the MLS tomorrow, then I'm going to put tomorrow as my start date. Item number 2, SELM is hereby deleted in its entirety. Okay.
Gotcha. Thank you. I might get you
you're
to
fine.
explain that to me another time too, but I think I understand it in its entirety. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, this is a very commonly used and known trick, but people don't always do it quite right. But if you do it exactly that way, it'll be just fine.
So I'm guessing if the seller says, oh, then why don't we just wait and put the date when we know it's ready? I think I would want to say,
You could wait, but I would say, well, I mean, we're going to do all this work in photography, but what if I told, my coworker about it tomorrow and they brought me an over asking cash offer? I can't tell them about it unless I have the signed listing agreement during the time we're waiting for photos and all of the work and all of that.
With the SELM, but the SELM enables us to
Yeah, exactly.
to shop it. Okay, got it.
Make sense, Sharon?
100%.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay. You're welcome. All right. MLS data on the internet. The seller needs to know that once the MLS has their listing, that information is going to go all over the place. And there's going to be automated estimations of value, comments and reviews. Other brokerages are going to market it. Seller representations, basically the seller is saying to you, oh, I'm not in default. You can actually sell my house, basically. 10, you should read through it, broker and seller duties. 10D, okay, so very rarely do I do this, but when I go into a house and I see that there are very clear issues, there's major sloping, so I'm thinking there's foundation problem, or there's a lot of wood rot, I might say to them, hey, I'll take your listing, but only if you get a report and we decide if we want to do some work before. And also this is advantageous for you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, because we can either take care of the work at a price we can trust with someone of your choosing versus a buyer coming in, doing an investigation, inspection, and maybe getting a trumped up estimate for the work and losing in credits or work that's cost more than we're comfortable with. Or B, circumventing it altogether and saying, this is an existing issue. The list price reflects it. Don't ask us for it. You know about it. Here's your report. Goodbye. If you want it, then you accept it as is. But only if it's really apparent.
It's good for disclosure in those cases. It just helps pre-property inspection. It's helpful.
Yes. Okay. Let's see, I'm moving this over here. Read through all of this, but there's nothing we need to go through here. Page 4. Gosh, I keep on having to move our little text box around. How do I make it at the top? Does anyone know how to make like the little, like I have like what looks like, you know, those photo booth strips of your pictures. I want to make it go across the top so I can actually see the document. Does anyone know how to do
I
that?
think top right in view, maybe. Hold on.
Oh,
Oh,
thank you. And I can drag it across.
Yeah.
Oh, my hero. You're going to make my life so much easier. And I can actually see everyone who's here. Uh-oh, I think I messed it up. There we go. Okay, so page 4. Again, read through all of this stuff, confirmation of agency, potentially competing buyers and sellers. We already talked about possible representation of more than one buyer or seller. This box is already automatically checked. Why? Because it's part of the contract, is always going to auto-populate with the contract. Okay, even though there's nothing to fill out under 13, this is a great time to have a conversation with your seller. What about? Well, showings, people through their house, particularly during COVID now. What to expect, that they should not be there. Okay, especially like sellers from other states. They have very different expectations, that they meet the buyers and sit down at tables with them at closing and things like that. No, seller will not be there during inspections or showings, especially during COVID, not allowed. Also, valuables. While you will be a diligent agent, you hope that, you know, a family comes in and is so engaged in conversation with you. Everybody's so excited they're checking out different parts of the house. You're focused on selling their property, right? So you can't be focused on hover. You also don't want to make people uncomfortable and hover over them the whole time. So I tell my sellers, really anything of value, and even things not of value, like shiny little trinkets that children might take, I'll tell my sellers, just pick them up and take them out. More uncommon things, even though I had these conversations with my sellers, they left baskets of keys out, you know, like I took them and I hid them during my first open house. And I just told them, hey, I moved this basket of keys into the lower pantry drawer. Just don't want to leave those kinds of things out. You never know. I'll watch, but I can't control everything. Also, if there's security, audio and video, you do have you know, the public enters a private residence. For something like an open house, you probably need to have a notice that the property's under surveillance. But even if it's not, I don't know about you ladies, but I have been in a few weird situations where I had a weird man come into the property and be weird with me. One so bad where I just bolted. I left everything unlocked. I left the house. I went to the neighbor's house and I called the police. I had another time where a weird guy came in as I was closing up. I was in Bel Air, super isolated. So whether or not there is security and video, I always ask my sellers, can I put up a notice that says everything's under surveillance? Because I feel safer. And people are less likely to steal your shit. What are the most common things that get stolen from open house or showings, guys?
Never had that happen. Probably cash.
Prescription
Yeah.
meds.
Oh, yeah.
Prescription meds are kind
Oh
of
my
it.
God.
I know.
Wow.
That's
I know.
That's right. I heard about.
I've never had it happen myself, but I have heard of it happening. I know someone at my former brokerage who had it happen. They just ended up buying, even though they told their sellers to secure everything, they ended up buying the wife a new designer bag. I don't know about you, but I don't feel like giving someone $4,000 because they didn't put their shit away.
Nope.
Yeah. So have this conversation. All right, 14, photographs and internet advertising. We've already talked about this, but obviously, once it goes on the MLS, the listing's going to be on thousands of properties or websites, thousands of websites, rebroadcast on other brokerages as if they're their own, totally normal. There will also be people committing fraud, showing listings for the same property. Like I have a lease listing I just rented out, $5,500, 2-bedroom, 2-bath in Beverly Hills. Well, someone reposted it as a 1-bedroom for $1,500 in one of the nicest sections of Beverly Hills. So I've been getting a lot of calls on it. Ha 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 ha. By the way, I would have rented that place myself if that was true. But it happens. It happens with sales too. So just keep that in mind. And I don't know if you need to have a conversation with your seller or not about it, but you know, if something like that happens, you're able to, sort of have that explanation ready. Okay. Tell your sellers that people are probably going to take photos and videos when they're in their house. Okay. This also can come with a nice little conversation about staging and decluttering, right? And keeping the house clean, particularly before scheduled showings and open houses. Okay, nothing worse than having beautiful photos and then doing a showing where the house is trashed, people are home and sleeping, it smells like weed. I have had these things happen, guys.
Wow.
I have done a showing where there were condoms and cocaine out on the counter.
Oh, no.
Yes, and I was like, oh, more power to you, Mr. Seller, but this is not going to help us right now. Yeah.
Oh, who cleaned that up? You or him, the seller?
Oh, I stashed it immediately. I don't think the buyer saw it, but I saw it, and then I was like,
Ooh, you had to touch those dirty condoms.
no, it was packaged. It wasn't it wasn't out.
Oh, okay, thank God.
Yeah,
thank
I wouldn't
God.
touch that. I would probably take something and cover it. Like I would be like, oh, fruit bowl. There you go. I would hide it. I'd be like, so what did I say? I said something like, so it looks like you had a great night, but I didn't want the buyers to know about it. So I just dropped what was on the counter into the drawer below. Hope you don't mind.
Yeah.
And, my Mr. Seller was like, oh my God, Chrsten, I'm so embarrassed. Thank you. And that was it. But it does happen. So guys, if you have a listing, should you show up early to your appointment, your showing appointment?
Yes.
100%. Yes. Okay. Next conversation is key safe lockbox. So the way our contract is written is that a lockbox is allowed. In our area, it's not very common that we have lockboxes on our listings though, right? Why? We have high price property with people who have expensive things. They don't want randoms going into their house. Also, if you're doing your job well, you really want to be there to point out everything. I have had buyers that missed entire wings or rooms in homes. But if I'm a listing agent and I'm there to show it to them, they're not going to miss it. Okay. Also questions things that like they may be teetering between one property and another, but I can point out that, oh, the AC is brand new. It's dual zone. I can answer questions like, oh yes, the seller will leave this really beautiful furniture piece. If you're not there, you can't help sell it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one better to show the property than either the seller, which is not going to happen ever, or you. So be there. But you might still want a lockbox there. Why? Well, I might need to be 3 places at one time, and I might call up one of my friends. I might be like, hey, John, I'm super busy. If I buy you lunch or pay you, will you please help me with my showing? Never mind, John's not paying attention. How about Tanya? Would you help me with my showing?
Absolutely.
Thank you. There is a lockbox attached to the water pipe behind the bushes on the right side of the house. The code is da 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 da, but I cannot get that help unless I have a key there, right?
Right.
So that's what I explain to my clients is don't worry. I'm not going to have any unattended showings, but there might be a time. I always want to show your property as long as you're okay with the showing, because that might be your buyer, but I might need to call on a favor from one of my trusted friends from my brokerage. And the only way I can ensure that they get access, because I'm nowhere around, that's why I'm not doing it myself, right?
Right.
Is to have a key someplace that they can access. So that's a conversation with the lockbox. All right, same thing with sign. Most people do want a sign, but there are sign regulations oftentimes with cities. So Beverly Hills has uber tiny little signs, and you have to have a permit to display them. And these are for sale signs, not open house signs. Cities have way different rules about open house signs. If it's a condo or HOA, they might have also rules about how and where and what size the display for sale can be. Okay. And then it's just a personal preference. Your clients may not want a for sale sign. I had clients who, and I'm going to say this in their own words, said they lived in the ghetto. And they did not want a for sale sign on their house because they thought it might make people target them thinking that no one was there. So we didn't have an open house sign, or not open house, a for sale sign. All right, we've already talked about equal opportunity housing. 19, additional terms. If the seller's title is a trust, you need to check box 19. And it's very common. And guys, if your client is not in a trust, be a great agent and ask them why not. Anyone who owns property should be in a trust. Otherwise, it goes to probate with or without court confirmation. I'm seeing a chat box question. Oh, bye, Adam. You're very welcome. Yeah. So if it's in a trust, which everybody should be in a trust if they own a property, this box should be checked. All right. If the seller needs to sell in order or needs to buy in order to sell this property, check this box. And then what? Is there a document that pops up when you check this box? No, there's not. This is for your knowledge so you can disclose it when you advertise it. The first one is, however, a document that auto-populates. If you have a short sale, you're going to have a document that populates. Not very common right now. I did one this year though. That was the first time I've ever done one from the real estate side and not escrow. It was actually pretty simple. REO advisory, advisory listing. If you're an REO agent, you generally have to do training with REOs and the entities that are giving them to you. I don't know anything about them. All right, management approval. Remember I told you our clients are actually the brokerages, not ours. So if anything changes or the brokerage doesn't like the terms. Let's say I went and took a listing and I said, oh, I'll do it for 1% total. Keller Williams could come back and say, no, not going to happen, Chrsten. Sorry. You have to release the listing or get the commission higher. Okay. Just so you know, let's say your seller dies. Is your listing agreement binding upon whoever inherits the property? It is. But if you do it, you're a big fat jerk face. Okay, don't make the children who just lost their parent sell a house because you want to make money. Be nice to them. Send them flowers and tell them you'll do whatever they want. They're your condolences. Okay. 22, dispute resolution. Thank God I know nothing about this. I'm not going to talk about it. I hope you never have to talk about it. You should read it. But if you ever have any questions about section 22, you go see who? Not me, not your mentor. Who do you go see?
Michael Rosales.
That's right. Okay. All right. 24 just says basically that a seller can actually sell the property. I have had an instance where a wife was trying to sell the property without her husband's knowledge, but I figured that out pretty quick because I contacted title and found out who was on title. Okay. Yeah, I know. People are crazy. People are super fucking crazy.
When you called her out on it, what'd she say?
Oh, she just said, oh, we can do it without him. And I said, actually, I legally can't. Sorry.
Wow.
She said, well, he's never going to agree. And I said, well, then you're going to have to go to court. But I can't do it. So have fun with that. Representative capacity.
Situation.
What's that?
It was a messy and dirty situation.
Oh, I washed my hands of it immediately. I was like, goodbye. Yeah. And they did not sell it with me. I don't know if they ever sold it. I don't care. She's crazy. Anyone who's trying to do that, I don't really want to work with anyhow. They're shady, right? Okay. So representative capacity. If the title to the property is held in any kind of entity, not a natural person's name, that means a trust, an LLC, a corporation, anything that is not a natural person's name, you're going to check this box. And RCSD-S is going to populate. That stands for representative capacity signature disclosure. What is the -S for, guys?
Seller.
Yes, because both buyer and seller can be an entity, right? So this document, you're going to have the seller fill out, and it basically identifies how they as the individual are related to the entity and that they have authority to make business decisions in relation to this, sale on behalf of the entity. Okay. It's a great time also, if it's a trust, ask them for a copy of the trust. Escrow and title is going to need it. And hey, I would much rather get a copy of the trust, send it over to my title rep and know that, oh no, I need someone else's signature. So I get my listing valid and I get that second signature. Or, oh no, this person can't sell this property at all. Then do my job and not get paid. Get a copy, save yourself the work. Know what you need to know. All right. That is it, guys. There's a seller's advisory, read it. But again, nothing for us to go through. It just tells the seller what they have to do, disclosures and things like that and why. And you should know those things very well. as an agent, but yeah, nothing much for us to go over. Does anyone have any questions?
When are you coming back?
Tonight,
Oh, good. Okay.
but shh, don't tell anyone. Tomorrow, I'm coming back
Okay.
tomorrow.
Okay. Gotcha. I didn't hear that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm really sore. Leave me
Yeah.
leave
Yeah.
me
Leave
alone.
me alone. Okay.
Yes, the wine and Advil kind of night.
Yeah. You need a massage. More
Yes,
than that.
last night with Advil and bourbon. I think I can just do wine tonight.
Yeah.
No massage. It's so sore. I don't think
Oh,
I'm
really?
I
Don't
don't
even touch you.
yeah. Any
Anyway,
questions?
enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Chrsten.
You're welcome, guys. Have a good week.
Bye.
Chrsten, have a good time. Be safe.
Thanks.
Bye. Have a good travel. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.